GymWith.
All right, so we have an Ask the Trainer. So Justin, why don't you ask me the question? I'll try to answer to the best of my ability.
All right. So today's question comes from Shamir. Hey, Shamir, thanks for writing in. And the question is, hey guys, I have a question about heart rate. I'm struggling to get my heart rate up during aerobic work. I've been a regular weightlifter, but recently I've decided to include cardio in my program. I tried a few boot camps. I've tried running. I've tried high intensity interval. And no matter what, my heart rate seems to max out at 120. My target heart rate is supposed to be in the 155 range. Any thoughts? Thanks for all the great work you guys are doing. And thanks you once again, Shamir, for writing in. And perhaps you are a cyborg.
I, there's a few follow-up questions I would have there. I guess one is, how are you measuring it?
Yeah.
Two, have you tried alternative methods of measuring? Because the first thing, I, I would say is, and then, well, the third question would be then, on if you were to do your own kind of perceived exertion, so like RPEs is rated perceived exertion, which is your kind of subjective interpretation of how hard you're working. Where do you think you are? So let's just say, for example, that 155 is like an 8 out of 10, just to make things nice and simple. um do you feel like you're getting to an 8 out of 10? So if you feel like you're getting to an 8 out of 10, I would think then the issue is with the method of measuring, that there's something wrong with that. Maybe you're using an Apple Watch that's not, and generally my Apple Watch seems to be pretty accurate, but maybe you're using one that's not getting the right number, or maybe you're using a heart rate monitor that's not working, or whatever the method is you're using, it might be off if you feel like you're working that hard. If you don't feel like you're working that hard, so if you feel like no matter what you do, you're always at a 6 out of 10, yeah, you might be a cyborg, or you're not working hard enough. So you might need to, whatever you're doing, do things faster or try to work harder. It doesn't sound like that. Like, it doesn't, there wasn't a complaint that, like, in the email, it didn't say like, I'm not working, it feels easy. It's not, you're not writing like, yeah, I'm running up the Empire State Building and it feels like nothing. Just, it sounds like you're working hard. Just the number on the monitor is not, correlating to the work rate. But again, I could be wrong. So again, the first question or first thing to consider is alternative methods of measuring. See if it's accurate. The second part is, do you feel like you're working that hard? And then third part is, look, if you feel like you're working really hard and you're only hitting 120, um, then that becomes a little tricky. So the things you might need to do, it might be then, that part might be your own kind of tolerance for, the activity is a little bit lower. So maybe it's like when you get to 120, or what, that's really hard for you and you just have a hard time pushing past that, in which case, again, there are other factors. So depending on your age and your health history, there are a lot of variables there. So it's hard to say, where the block is. Like, for example, like if I'm training somebody who's 20 years old and they get to 120 and they're struggling and having a really hard time, the perceived exertion is really high at like a 120 heart rate. If they're a person that's new to exercise, then okay, we work on that and we just try to push that over time. So you might just try to push to 122 and push to 124, 125. If it persists, I would suggest maybe just going to see a doctor to see if there is any issue there, because that is a fairly low number to be stuck at. So, that is a situation where you might want to get it checked out. But again, if the person is, 65, then there's different calculus involved. So 120, that might just be, the number that we're trying to work with, and maybe, we stay around there. So there are a few questions involved, unfortunately, before saying, for sure, like what I would do. But like I said, check to see what you're using. Think about your perceived exertion. And again, if everything is checked, like you're just having a hard time at 120, again, just slowly try to build up. And if reaching a sticking point you can't get past, might be worth seeking a professional out and see if there's something, some underlying condition that is keeping you at that number. All right. Well, thanks again for the question. And, as usual, shoot us an email at thegymwits@gmail.com. We try to answer all the questions that we get. So Justin, I guess that is it. Anything else to add for today?
Oh, I think that's it.
GymWith.